Welcome to Business Acumen Session 7. Is bigger the better still valid? Last week, in the Session 6, we talked about competitive superiority. The objective of this program is to create a workforce that generates opportunities continuously. This is being brought to you by METL Global Perspectives, www.metl.in. Mass production. As machines developed to lead industrialization, the concept of the bigger, the better started to gain a toehold. Larger factories, larger machines, larger capital deployment started to define competitive advantage. This, coupled with mass production and speed of manufacture, gave rise to unrivaled excellence. We have seen these even in the movies like Modern Times, where Charlie Chaplin was there as the lead role. We have known of the legendary Ford Motor System, and we have also read about the Taylor studies. And these were all about these mass production age. Now that was an age by itself, and where machines had made their advent, they had made their mark in the industry. But then that age was also led with a lot of pain. Distribution. At the same time, the concept of distribution started gaining ground. It seemed normal to produce in large quantities in one place and then sell all over the country or to the world. The classic Philip Kotler model of marketing is all about the distribution strategies and the product strategies of such market players. Distribution came to the helm of it. Rather than producing locally, the thought was to produce at central places and then distribute everywhere. So the distribution concept went further to the extent that the same product is today available in cities, in small towns, and even villages. So the distribution channel evolved to such an extent, which in turn also impacted mass production because things had to be produced in such a manner so that they didn't get spoiled while the distribution was taking place. So you needed to have such products which could stay longer, which could have a shelf life, and which couldn't get spoiled. Mass production plus distribution formula. Soon there were large automobile companies, power plants, airline manufacturing companies, chemical plants, ships, financial houses. The general goal was touted as to be in the top three or to become too large to fail. These large companies also built a lot of overheads in the process. There were insurances, patents, product recalls, all aimed at creating dominance or eliminating risk of some form or the other. I'm sure you have read about these large companies which, if they went bankrupt or if they were closed down, the entire town or the entire area went down. So big they became, and the government also had to at times intervene and say that due to the reducing the monopolies, they had to break them into smaller companies. We have seen that happen with Standard Oil. We have seen that happen with in the telecom space with AT&T, I think, and we have seen that now taking shape with Google and Microsoft also to some extent. So large companies with a distribution formula, mass production, it was an amazing combination, but that was of that time. Consumerism, scarcity in surplus. Then the concept of product variants caught on, and the consumer could pick variants, and amongst a huge choice, they could pick up a tube of toothpaste from an array of 100 different ones. Gradually, this led to a surplus and the system that was unsustainable, not due to the size, but due to the sheer number of products it generated, all basically of the same type, fueled by consumerism. Now, this consumerism was again fueled by advertising. Now, if you see when advertising comes into play with distribution, that means the product is available at an arm's length, easily available with me, and it gives rise to a lot of positive feeling in me if I have that product, and it's produced in mass. That became a system by itself, a system which established all norms, a system which everyone thought is the one that is going to work forever. New industrial order. The unsustainable nature of this growth made its impact on the environment and such severity that every possible natural resource got contaminated and scarcity dominated in the times of surplus. Once again, it contested the idea of the bigger, the better. Technologies evolved and made it possible to produce on demand and take a step towards the sustainable environment. New concepts like fuel cell promises to light up a home with a small battery like device. Solar power became cheaper than fossil fuel based power, and growing became an operative word rather than cutting it to size. These innovators started working on something which was different, something which was not based on the thought of mass production, consumerism, advertising, and distribution. That model could not sustain itself over time. Mass production and distribution model challenged. However, the existing large factory based system and supplier networks cannot become redundant all of a sudden. The impact of new concepts was so high that entire existing production systems might become outdated. The way mass production killed craftsmanship, these new systems will make distribution and then mass production itself redundant. Imagine if Bloom energy boxes were procured by every household to power the house. What would happen to the huge transmission grid which wheel power from the producer to the consumer? Will Bloom Energy be able to hold the technology close to itself so that no other company can make such a product? Unlikely. We have seen that when microchips and transistors started and companies like Intel went into it big time, everyone thought that that will be concentrated into the US sphere of influence. However, they made its way to Korea, they made its way to China, they now are being produced in Taiwan, and this knowledge is now available. So, knowledge diffuses everything, and mass production and distribution gets significantly challenged by knowledge. Intelligence and hard work cannot be patented. With the technology and education edges fast eroding for regions such as the US and the Europe, and as countries like South Korea, China, Taiwan catch up to the technology prowess, high tech and cutting edge technology based products will soon be available everywhere. We are witnessing right now in the pharmaceutical industry where innovator drugs are being replicated by generic pharmaceutical companies and being made available at a fraction of the cost. Ultimately, intelligence and hard work cannot be patented. On demand, highly customized offerings. As global distribution companies powered by the internet gain center stage, distributing products across the globe becomes possible even without setting up extensive distribution networks. The concept of the bigger the better will be replaced by the producing here and now based on customer specifications. Now, when this becomes really there and it takes shape, producing here and now and at a short lead time and available then and there of the quality norms that is expected and maybe better, just imagine the impact that it would have on bigger the better. The bigger the better model is destined for failure. It is capital intensive, so also it is destined for failure. What is going to work is the intellect based models which are going to sustain themselves in the future. High on intellect, low on capital. Similarly, with the need for large capital giving way to technical expertise, the organization of the future will be one that can design extensive hub and spoke based operating models where the main product is held by the organization and customized offerings are created at places near to the consumer. Therefore, this would lead to better deployment of capital and higher returns. A highly distributed and agile company connected by core competence and technology based delivery platforms is the future. This way, every involved entity will hold on to the core competence while requiring less capital. and it'll also be highly sustainable. Collective and distributed rather than capital and distribution. The entire breakdown of the classical business value chain also exerts pressure on the way businesses are currently designed. However, a quick look at the growth of Amazon Web Services justifies this point. Home based charging stations for electric vehicles will severely impact gasoline filling stations. What are the current business realities which can alter the bigger the better thought in your industry? How can you lead the transformation by shifting to dominance based on localized production and technology? A few CEOs, such as Jeff Bezos of Amazon, have recognized this and are moving towards the technology powered local services approach. Think about it. What are your thoughts at this point? What do you need to know more about? What do you need to do? Are your business capital and distribution intensive? How can you make them into collective and distributed businesses using knowledge and technical expertise? Questions. Who is responsible for generating opportunities from employees? Is your business model driven by technical expertise? How can you make your business into collective and distributed one? Do you want to make your organization into an opportunity machine? Message me your ideas and I'll try to revert as soon as I can. You can reach me at saugata@metl.in or WhatsApp at 9966027808. Next week, we will go through the session 8, which is on sustaining a successful business.